Where do you think Jenna Ortega should rank in the top 10 scream queens of all times? Not just Jenna, how about Mia Goth?
I think I am good at screaming.
And a host of other women of horror who have embodied the Scream Queen title. So sit back and relax as we count down our ultimate list for the top 10 Scream Queens. Coming up at number 10 is the pop culture diva, the delectable Paris Hilton. Okay, this movie is somewhat a horror classic, and it's called The House of Wax. Pretty good movie, but her screams weren't that good. It was so bad she requested for the crew to scream with her. Nonetheless, the movie was a box office success to some degree, and a cult classic back then. Remember, for this ranking, we are only selecting the most realistic screams. Literally the most memorable and purely primal. For number 9, we have the former Nickelodeon teen star Emma Roberts.
Every one of you.
Who else thinks Emma Roberts' screams are low-key cringy? It sounds really whiny, I promise I'm not trolling. Listen. Nonetheless, she earns our number 9 spot, and there's no doubt she is a true horror scream queen. She personifies the horror genre with exceptional acting in movies like The American Horror Story, The Scream Queens, and Scream 4. Now be sure to stick around till the end of this short video to see our number 1, who literally has the most realistic horror scream. And no, it's not Jamie Lee Curtis. For number 8 is the 90s iconic scream queen, the one and only legend Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell definitely goes down as the quintessential scream queen of the 90s. Her extensive run as Sidney Prescott in the first 5 films in the Scream franchise is most remembered, but her actual screams were apparently not memorable, barely subpar. However, with her continuous role reprisals in the Scream franchise, Neve Campbell was an inextricable part of the 90s and today horror culture, and not including her in the list regardless would be just wrong. For number 7, it's the late Janet Leigh, one of the most important women in horror movie history. This movie, Psycho, is a true classic horror film from 1960, and her acting in this shower scene is arguably the most famous horror movie scene of all times, winning her a Golden Globe Award for it. And she did a pretty darn good scream, purely primal and realistic.
Mrs. Bates.
Especially it being the 60s. And that's why she'd go on to star in several horror movies before her passing in 2004, like The Fog, Night of the Lepus, and one of the Halloween sequels. Okay, for number 6, it's the multi-talented Sarah Paulson.
He's escaping!
After so many times she's had to scream on American Horror Story, it's a miracle that Sarah Paulson still has vocal cords. And my head just hurts from putting her screaming clips together. She's an amazing actress. Surprisingly, she didn't start off her career with the horror genre, and for the first 2 decades of her acting career she was in a lot of crime dramas and romantic comedy like A Christmas Wedding and What Women Want alongside Mel Gibson.
You okay?
Yeah.
Not until she got her big break in American Horror Story.
Cupcake. I don't want a cupcake.
And soon other horror roles like Bird Box, Run, and Dust, to mention a few. For number 5, we have the hardcore horror fans' newest favorite scream queen, Samara Weaving. This movie, Ready or Not, is one of those low-budget horror films that is surprisingly good, mainly because of the extraordinary acting skills of the rising scream queen, Samara Weaving. Her first entry into the horror genre was with 2017's The Babysitter Netflix, where she played a sick villain. She also has been on several sides, playing the final girl in Mayhem, the terrifying villain hiding behind a seemingly innocent face in The Babysitter, and a proper scream queen in Ready or Not. Next, for number 4, we have the most underrated scream queen in Hollywood. Her name is Vera Farmiga. She all of a sudden became the most popular and beloved horror scream queen of the 2010s. Arriving very late in the horror genre, she spent most of her acting career in thrillers and crimes movies, not knowing she was made for horror, a natural-born scream queen that she is. This movie, The Conjuring, is a modern horror classic, and an all-time horror fan's favorite, particularly due to Vera's realistic acting. She also starred in Bates Motel, a slasher horror movie where she played Norma, and of course screaming her lungs out per usual. Next up, for number 3, is Jamie Lee Curtis, the ultimate scream queen, horror's most beloved and important actor. The classic 1978 Halloween, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, who in following her mother Janet Leigh's footsteps, she became the horror scream queen to end all scream queens. Although her screams aren't great now in 2024, they were the best back in 1978, as she became the prototype for the ultimate scream queen through her iconic portrayal of Laurie Strode, which indeed paved the way for modern scream queens today. Coming up at number 2, we have Mia Goth, the newest horror fans' favorite scream queen for the present-day generation. Mia's horror acting is so visceral, simply put. Her best horror movies are the deliciously fun slasher trilogy of X-Pearl and the last of the sequel Maxine set to be released this 2024. Hope she gets an Oscar for playing so well the villainous, misunderstood farm girl with borderline personality disorder. And you bet, her screams are gut-wrenching, absolutely primal.
I'm not staying on this farm! Something's gonna keep me here!
And finally, our number 1 and current reigning scream queen is Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega is undoubtedly horror's number 1 scream queen right now, having rapidly climbed up the ranks starring in some of the biggest and best horror films like X, Scream, and American Carnage, but it was her role as the titular character in Netflix's Wednesday that truly made her a household name. Movie critics say she's bringing back the horror genre as the dominant force in film for years to come, especially with her final girl performances in Scream 6. For those who know how extremely difficult diaphragm screams are. With upcoming roles in horror films this 2024 like Beetlejuice 2 and Scream 7, Jenna Ortega shows no signs of stopping.